Hey everybody, it's Treetop here. Thanks for tuning in. We're back at the bench, and today's video I want to talk about my tips and tricks and treatments for getting the most out of your powder measurers and your powder measuring systems, whatever they may be. I have talked about this topic a little bit over the years, but it seems like I always buried it in the back of another video that was on another topic. And I really felt like I had some things happen that I realized just how good this stuff is, how much it improves the process. So I thought it was time to make a standalone video that more people could find and see. So that's what we're going to do in this video. I want to make this video for you and share it with you because of an experience I just had. Now, I've had everything treated and gone on about my business for a really long time and forgotten about it. But something that put it back in my center stage mindset was I got this Mech 600 Junior from my childhood home. This was mine when I was a kid. I shipped it to myself, cleaned it up, and mounted it here on the bench. I had to get a new bushing because I changed. I don't even know what powder I was using back then, but I got a bushing for this powder. This is WST Winchester. And I had to get a new one of these drop tubes because it was cracked. So I got a fresh one of these, put it all together, and started taking some measurements, dropping powder just to see where I was sitting. And I was way lower than expected. And it was erratic. It was cycling all over the place. And so I opened it back up again, looked at the bushing, and here's what the bushing looks like. This is one of those. This one's not treated, but it had powder clinging all over inside the bushing, just hanging there. Didn't make it into the case. And then same thing with this thing. This had a load in it all the way down, top to bottom. There was powder clinging in there. And so, obviously I know what to do. I'm like, dummy, come on, do what you've talked about. So I cleaned all this up and I put my graphite treatments on it and went back and threw some loads. My loads changed immediately. I got much better standardization. So anyway, that's what reminded me of how great this process was. And I thought, I really got to get this out there in a standalone and share it. And so the things we're going to combat in this video that probably cause us to have irregular measurements. Static, that's going to be the primary one. And I'll show you my tips for dealing with that. And then also cleaning. So a lot of your components that you order and come in, they're going to have some packing oils or some grease or some residual oils left over on the materials. That is no bueno. So you definitely want to get all that stuff off. That will attract the fine powder particles. They'll stick, clog, and fall. So that's something we don't want. And I guess maybe the third is possibly condensation. So I could see a situation where in the right environment, you have cold dyes from the morning and then a warmer, humid day, and you might collect a little bit of condensation. And so the graphite treatment that I'm going to talk about will help with all of those things, or will help with that as well, because it separates the cold steel from the ambient air. So it's going to create a barrier that's not as easy for condensation to want to form on. So that's what we're going to combat. All right. So the first place and the easiest thing that I like to do on the bench here is I employ spent dryer sheets. These have been through the dryer. They've already been used in the dryer, and I save them instead of throwing them in the trash. And I just put them in my powder measurers and I store them. See, this one over here has got them in there. And what that does is it helps satisfy that static cling issue before it even starts. So if you think about it, your powder ships in these plastic containers. So you have fine particles jostling around in a plastic container, then you pour it into a plastic hopper. Is going to be a potential differential there. And so if I can show you here, let me see if I can get this in the shot here. This is a brand new hopper. It's never had a dryer sheet in it. And you can see it's got powder clinging all over it. So that's what we want to stop before it gets started. Obviously it doesn't hurt anything in the powder measure, but we're starting off with charged particles before we even drop them through. And that's what we want to end. The other thing I like these dryer sheets for anything that you don't want to coat with graphite, which we're going to talk about in a second. But this graphite is nice for the internal components that we'll get to, but for things that I just don't want to, I don't want to spray all over in here and all over the place. make a mess. So this, just wiping out pans that are having a static issue. You know, sometimes you'll actually get powder to stick to the bottom of the pan. It'll just hang there. You can't get it off without banging on it. So I'll just take and wipe them out with a used dryer sheet, and the powder just literally dump right out. So it's really handy. So that's the first thing I do. Simple, easy, and it helps prevent it from starting in the first place. Okay, cleaning. This is one of the most important things. So a lot of your parts that you get when you buy new stuff is going to have a little residual oil from machining, or it's been put there as a preservative so that it doesn't rust while it's in, you know, in storage or packing or shipping. And we got to get that off, because that will attract the powder. The powder will stick and it won't get a complete drop, and it ruins our accuracy. So anywhere from the metering chamber on down, I recommend cleaning with a good cleaner. Now, what we want is a cleaner that doesn't leave any residue. So you don't want to use anything like a paint thinner or something like that. Yes, it will cut the grease, it'll clean that off, but it's going to leave a little oily residue, and that's just another form of bad. So we don't want that. So alcohol, denatured alcohol, really good for that kind of stuff. It's good for cleaning. It leaves no residue. However, it doesn't dry very fast. Next up, acetone. I use this quite a lot on projects that I want to paint or anything like that, because it kills all of the oily residue. However, this is not safe for all plastics. So if you want to use it on a plastic to clean, make sure you test it first. Some plastics will literally melt with acetone. So I suspect these hoppers would. So you definitely don't want to put that on there. Brake Clean. This non-chlorinated, it's inexpensive. It does a good job. It's in a pressurized container, so you can literally spray out dyes and things like that. So that's kind of nice. It's literally made for brake pads that you don't want any residual grease on it, so it leaves no film behind. Like I said, I like this, you know, and it's nice and easy to apply. You can just spray through and inside your dyes and whatnot. Rinse them. You literally rinse them with this, and then let them dry, and then you're ready to apply a graphite lube that we're going to talk about, the graphite coating. So yeah, you can spray out all your stuff there. Metering drums, you want to get in there, clean the metering drum, clean the stem. This one's already got treatment on it. You can see it's gray from the graphite. We're going to talk about in a minute. I guess the one thing I'll caution you with is if drums like this, if you get them too clean on the outside where you don't want it, we're talking about just the metering chamber. But if you get them too clean on the outside, you're going to set up a situation for rust. So you may want to go back and treat the external surfaces that aren't treated. I kind of like this one shot because it's got lube with it, and it'll also provide some protection. So just be careful, careful application where you use it. We don't want to get rust going, but we do want to clean it so that we get rid of the oil, and our graphite dry lube is going to stick. So that's what we want to do. Now, the next thing I will caution you while we're talking about cleaning is you take a look at an old powder measure like this. This has been used a whole lot. You can see all this yellowing here. That's from the graphite that's in the powder. The graphite is on the powder to keep it from clumping and sticking and having static issues. So as it goes through the powder measure or is stored in the powder measure, it's going to leave a little bit behind. This powder measure is seasoned. I'm not going to clean this. So don't, if you see this yellow, if you inherit a powder measure that's been used a lot, you don't need to do this to it because it's probably already seasoned up. If you're having issues and you see some powder clinging behind, you can go back and add some dry graphite to the internal components. But this darkness that you see here, never clean that off. That's really beneficial. So I just want to bring that up. Okay, next up is the superstar of the show, this graphite dry lube. This is made by a company called Blaster, I guess, and it's liquid. So it's got a rattle bottle in there, like so. And you want to shake that up really good because you want those graphite particles to be well mixed in there. The canister is different. This is really old, probably 10 years old. They've got a new canister now. Home Depot carries this. I'll put a picture up at what it looks like now. That'll probably age out too, but Anyway, for now, just know that it's made by Blaster. And so what I like to do here is I put this on with a Q-tip. So I like to get something that acts as a reservoir. You can use a cap or I just use a shotgun shell, empty, clean shotgun shell. And I spray it right down in there. And I get a little wet reservoir of dry lube. And then I'll dip a Q-tip in here. And I get it nice and wet. You see how wet that is? And that's going to paint on just like a paintbrush. So I've already done this one here, but you can see this bushing. This is shotgun mech bushing. See how that's all nice and coated? That's going to dry just about while we sit here watching. And now you're going to have a very difficult time getting powder to stick behind on that. Anything that acts as a conduit all the way down, we want to coat. If it's a long item like this, I just turn it around. It's like so. And you want to see that nice black coating in there. I've taken this powder measure apart so I could reach up inside. This is the tube out of this powder measure. It goes in here like this. And then I'm going to reach up in here and all these plastic parts, because plastic is not your friend. And I'm going to get in here and paint all these interior surfaces really good. I've done the inside here. You don't have to. Mostly I'm concerned with wherever the powder is metered, like here. And then all the parts that carry the powder all the way down. So we want to get a good coating in there like that. Hopefully you can see this, what I'm doing here. This won't hurt anything, and it does a great job. What else? Your drums. I'm going to put this on there. You can reapply this periodically. Like I said, it's a mess. You want to be careful how you apply it. You don't want to get any clothes, your carpet, or anything like that, because you're going to be unhappy. What else? I did that. We talked about this little tube earlier. All I did was clean this tube out with some alcohol, come back with this is the drop tube from my Mech 600 Junior that was full of powder. And we just come back in here and paint all these surfaces so that the powder has nothing to stick to. All the way down, reach up in there. And I threw some charges with this, took a look at it afterwards, and there wasn't a stick of powder left in there. So really does a good job. What else? Obviously I can't tell you all the different places you can use this. I'm just showing you just a basic sample of how you can use this treatment, and you can apply it to whatever you're doing, whatever your processes are. If I'm doing it on a drum powder measure, you've seen me do this on the channel before. I'm going to go up in here. I'm going to take this all apart. I'm going to do every part in here that touches the powder to include the metering chamber on down. All right, guys, that's the end of the video here. Hopefully you got something you can use. I tell you, if you use this process in whatever application you have or whatever system you're running, it'll just make it better. It'll make it more accurate. Accuracy is what we want. So anyway, like I said, that's it. That's the end of it. Just, dryer sheets. Make sure you save your dryer sheets. We want the spent ones. We store them in our containers, and it cuts that static cling before it gets going. Very helpful. Don't like the new ones. Don't like to use the new ones because they've got a coating, waxy coating on them, and they'll leave that residue behind, and that's unhelpful. Next up, cleaning. Make sure you clean it with good solvents that dry without residue. That's essential. And then the superstar is this graphite dry lube. Like I said, it's got a new can now, so you can get it at Home Depot. I'll try to put a picture up of what the new can looks like. What else? Yeah, guys, I think that's it. I just want to say a quick thanks to everybody who's followed the channel all over these years. And I appreciate all the subscribers and all the likes. It keeps me going. Comments, I love that. I try to answer them all. I don't get them all. Mostly I stick to questions. If you have a question, I answer a question. If you make a comment, I don't always comment on that. But anyway, I thank you. Rumble. I've got a channel on Rumble. I'm trying to get that going, for obvious reasons, YouTube, whatever. This is going to be YouTube friendly, so we'll be okay with this video. But I've got content on Rumble that I can't have on YouTube. So you know the drill. Treetop Flyer, F-L-I-E-R over there. I'll put a little badge up here. And thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.